Hello, my name is Dr. Alison Brown. I haven't uploaded a video for quite some while. A lot has happened. We've seen a new president being brought into the White House in America. His name is Joseph Robinette Biden, and the Vice President is Kamala Devi Harris. Okay, and as many of you know, I'm a Messianic believer. And I like to look at the scriptures through Hebrew eyes, so to speak. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a look at what I'm calling the Biden-Harris prophecy. And we can glean a lot when we look at the Hebrew Gemmatria and we look at Hebrew numerology as to what a particular name will say about a particular person. And there is a lot of revelation and insight that we can glean from these two names, from Kamala Devi Harris and from Joseph Robinette Biden. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. This is going to be a two-part video. So this is the first part because I can't possibly go over it all in depth in just one video. So it's going to be in at least two parts, possibly even three, but we'll see how we go. First of all, I would like to have a look at what some people have termed the zero curse. Will Biden be subject to the zero curse? What is the zero curse? Well, will he escape? It's the curse of Tippecanoe, the curse of Tippecanoe. So this was a curse that was given by the Shawnee Indians, by a prophet of the Shawnee Indians, back in the 1800s, over what they called the chiefs of the American nation. And the curse basically states that all those American presidents who are elected into office, who win elections in years divisible by 20 since the 1940 election, and end in 0. Okay, so we have, and I'm just going to read them quickly through. You can look it up for yourselves and verify for yourselves as to whether what I'm saying is true or not. So we have William Henry Harrison, 1840, Lincoln, 1860, Garfield, 1880, McKinley, 1900, Warren G. Harding, 1920, Roosevelt, 1940, Kennedy, 1960. Now all of these met their deaths during office, during their presidencies. Then we have Reagan in 1980. He survived, however, an assassination attempt upon his life, possibly due to the prayers of the saints at the time. And then we have Bush in 2000. He also had an assassination attempt on his life, but he survived. He managed to survive. Now we have Joe Biden, of course, who was elected in 2020. So will Biden escape the zero curse? So that's a little bit of background, so you can contemplate that, you can meditate on that, you can do some research on it, or possibly the zero curse has now been broken by the prayers of the saints, but we shall see. I'm not going to say anything more about that. Then we've got William Branham in 1933. He prophesied about 3 isms to come upon the world, 3 great isms, because there are quite a lot of them, but there's three main ones, or 3 great ones, what he called 3 great ones. That's Nazism, communism, and fascism. They will arise, and he prophesied that they will all end up in one ism, and that ism will dominate the world. So he also predicted cars like eggs, cars that would self-drive themselves and propel themselves. And he also predicted, and this is what interests us, that a woman would be president just before the end of America, basically, before and then he saw cities being burnt, etc. So you can check his prophecies, but he said he prophesied in 1956 that a woman would be president before the annihilation. He also prophesied that women would dress more like men, and even wear fig leaves. G-strings perhaps? Okay, so the last ism, though, could well be globalism, because that's the ism that seems to be rising in these days. Okay, but you know, bear in mind that he prophesied that just before the end there would be a woman president. Now, a lot of people felt that this prophecy was going to be fulfilled by Hillary Clinton. However, as we well know, it was not fulfilled by Hillary Clinton. Could Kamala Harris fulfill William Branham's prophecy? Watch this space. So, we've also got some prophecies from the charismatic groups in the 1800s that an elite would arise. Could this be globalism or the deep state? That an elite would arise and sap the life of the American nation. That farmers would not be farming, that the sea would engulf cities, coastal cities, perhaps tsunamis, that there would be riots in the streets for money and for food, and that the Hispanic nation would challenge the America. And also they prophesied in the 1800s that the government, the end-time government of America, would abuse the Constitution. Does that perhaps sound a little familiar? That there would be an economic crisis, that America would be in enormous debt. And I think today, if you know, you can check these figures. I'm not an economist and I don't pretend to be, but I believe that at the moment America owes about $33 trillion in debt. Whoa. Remember what it says in Proverbs, the debtor is servant to the lender. Yes. Okay. Anyway, they also prophesied in the 1800s, various charismatic groups in the 1800s prophesied that a major group would rise up during this time. A major group would rise up during this time and restore the Constitution. It would be a group of faithful, faith women who would be pro-life. In other words, they would be against abortion, and they would be men and women of faith, like the early founding fathers of the United States were, and they would also safeguard freedom of speech during this time. Okay, let's now just have a quick read of James chapter 5, verses 1 to 8. James chapter 5, verses 1 to 8. And I've just got my Bible here. So James chapter 5, verses 1 to 8. And we'll have a look, and it's very, very pertinent. James chapter 5, verses 1 to 8. Go to now, you rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that shall come upon you. Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were with fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days, and we're definitely in the last days. Behold, the hire of the labourers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud, cries, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of the Sabbath. You have lived in pleasure on the earth and have been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in a day of slaughter. You have condemned and killed the just, and he does not resist you. Be patient, therefore, brethren, unto the coming of the Lord. Behold, the husbandman waiteth for the precious fruit of the earth, and has long patience for it, until he receives the early and the latter rain. The early and the latter rain. Okay, I could do a whole video on just the early and the latter rain, but we just don't have time. Be you also patient, establish your hearts, for the coming of the Lord draws nigh. It certainly does. Okay, so read that, meditate on that at your own pace and in your own leisure, because we are in those days. We are most definitely in those days. As regards the Constitution being abused, the Lord did give me a vision. This was a few weeks ago now. Yeah, maybe just after Christmas. And I saw the Statue of Liberty, and stones were being thrown at it. So it was very vivid. I accurately saw the Statue of Liberty, and I just saw these stones being pelted at the Statue of Liberty. Okay, now let's have a look at an exegesis of the name of Biden and Harris. Okay, I think in this particular part one, we're just going to have a look at the name of Biden, and we're going to have a look at it in the Hebrew language. So I hope that you will be able to see this. And we have here in the Hebrew language, we have bet. Then we've got two yods. These are yods. Yod, 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 double yod. And then we have dalet, and that's a final, what we call nun-sofit. Nun-sofit. So we've got bet, yod, yod, dalet, and nun. Okay. So if you can make some notes as you go along. So with I think I need to hold this up again, and I'll just do a little calculation for you. Okay, so bet is the number 2 in Hebrew numerology. That's the number 2 letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It has 22 letters. And then we have yod, which is the number 10, and yod again, the number 10. Now, yod is God's number of, it's a letter, but also it represents symbolic of the number 10, and it's God's number of multiplication. God's number of multiplication. So what do we get when we multiply bet, which is the number 2, okay, the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and we multiply that with 10? What have we got? 20. And we multiply it again with the second yod, 20. What do we have? We have 2020. So, of course, that was the year that Biden was elected, the year 2020, and it's in his name. Okay, that is the year that he was going to be elected. Okay, so what else do we have here? We've got dalet, which is the door. So, and bet is the house, is symbolic of a house. So we have a door going into a house. So, in 2020, Biden, yes, goes through the door of the White House. Yes. But how long is he going to be there for? Because dalet is also a number, and it could be representing 4 months or 4 years. So I'll just leave that with you. So ponder and meditate and pray about. 4 months would take us to March, from the 3rd of November, or to May from the date of his inauguration on the 20th of January. Okay, what did I see? Well, a few weeks ago, again, it was just after Christmas, before the inauguration, I saw a March hare going up the steps of the Supreme Court. Now, we know that Trump has contested through his lawyers, Giuliani and Sidney Powell and others, the election results, saying that they were stolen. I have to be very careful with my words here, otherwise this video may be taken down by the pro-left media. Anyway, so there were a lot of cases brought before the courts, and some were brought before the Supreme Court. Now they've all been dismissed. So to date, so far, 3 justices, I believe, wanted to examine the election cases brought by Linwood and Sidney Powell, but they were outvoted by the rest of the judges, because the Supreme Court doesn't want to get involved in any political issues, and possibly the threat from the Democrats that they were going to pack the Supreme Court with more judges, justices, that of course would be pro-Democrat. A threat, yes. Okay, so that's probably why they would not touch it or even examine it, which I think is a shame for the American people, because what is the harm in at least looking at the evidence that is brought forward? What is the harm in that? Surely the American people deserve to know the truth. Yes? So why didn't they examine it objectively, all the evidence that is brought forward? What is the harm in that? There's supposed to be there's supposed to be a Republican constitutional republic, but we're supposed to have like a democracy there, but they won't even look at it, they won't even examine it. At least give the benefit of the doubt and look at the evidence. Well, that's my personal opinion, but I believe that is it. At least that's what they should have done. And I think one of the justices did say that the American people deserve better than for them to just throw it all out and we're not looking at it, and not at least look at the evidence and see if there is some substantial evidence there that may reveal that perhaps the election was stolen. Yes? Okay. There we go. Anyway, I have my March hare going up the Supreme steps. I'm not quite sure what my March hare is about, so maybe something may take place towards the end of March, which happens to be, of course, Passover. Passover starts at the end of March this year, and that's when the Hebrew children passed over and went through the Red Sea, and all of their enemies, Pharaoh that was chasing them with his army, they were all drowned in the Red Sea. So could be prophetic for that particular moment in time, or we could be looking at maybe May time when we celebrate the feast of Shavuot, Pentecost. Okay, so we have Biden 2020 going through the door of the White House. Yes, so what else do we have here? Okay, and then finally we have the letter Nun. Now the letter Nun is an interesting letter. It speaks of the prophetic, it speaks of the word, and its number is 50, which is the number of Jubilee, when all debts are cancelled. So what is going on there? Well, we will just have to wait and see. But Yod, the work and the hand of God, bringing about a Jubilee revival, possibly. Okay, there are things going on, I believe, in California right now, where they're experiencing somewhat of a revival, which is good news. It's not all bad news, it's not all doom and gloom. Revival is breaking forth in many parts of America as more and more people are turning to God when they see what is going on in the political realm, what's going on in the world with the coronavirus, etc. More and more people are beginning to turn back to God, which is a fantastic thing. And just keep praying and praying and praying, and standing in faith for revival to burst forth. I'm not in America right now, I'm in Wales right now, and I'm not an American citizen either. I'm speaking from Wales in the UK, and I just basically bring forth interesting facts from a Hebraic perspective, and then I leave it to you, whoever's watching, to make up your own mind, to pray about it and make up your own mind. Okay, so we have Bet, we have the double Yod, we have Dalet, and we have Nun. So that's Biden's name. However, we haven't finished there, because Biden, within the name Biden, we have two Hebrew words. This is where it gets even more interesting. So by in Hebrew means in or at, okay? And then we have Dalet and Nun, and that spells the word too in Hebrew. It spells the word Dan. Dan. Does that ring any bells? Dan? Yes, we have the tribe of Dan, don't we? Ooh, the tribe of Dan. What does the tribe of Dan symbolize? We have that the tribe of Dan was birthed basically, through in Genesis 36. So that you can read Genesis 30 verse 6 for more about that. The tribe of Dan. It means judgment. Its symbol also is the scales. The scales, and it's talking about God has judged me, or judgment. So literally speaking, in the Hebrew we have two words which means in judgment. In judgment. When we conjoin Biden with Harris, we have much more revelation coming through. We don't have time in this video to do the Biden-Harris, the conjoining of those two names. So you'll have to watch part 2 for that one. Okay, so we have Dan, the word Dan, so judgment scales. Okay, and we also have the prophet Daniel in chapter 5, verse 27. And remember the finger writing on the wall. What did the finger of God write? Because you've got the yod, you've got the 2 yods there, which is symbolic of the hand or the arm of God. So we have the hand of God here. We have Dan, and what is God writing? He's writing tekel, and that means God has judged me. So you are weighed in the balances. You are weighed in the balances and are found wanting. You are who's weighed in the balances? Well, whose name are we doing? We're doing the name Biden. So who is weighed in the balances and found wanting? I leave that with you. Okay. The only thing that I want to add here is that the Lord did give me another vision. Okay, I had a vision before Christmas about Trump being assassinated, and I thought at the time that the Lord was referring to a real assassination, as in, a bullet hitting him, etc., and him going down, and he was carried out. He was speaking at a platform, and then he was carried out on a stretcher. There was an oxygen mask over his face. I knew that he wasn't dead in this vision, but he was being carried out off the political platform, and that, as we can see, has happened. It wasn't a literal bullet, but through situations and circumstances, he was carried off the political platform and is no longer in the White House, as we well know. Okay, so what was this other vision that the Lord gave to me? Well, this vision came through about 10 days ago, and in this vision I simply saw Joe Biden in the Oval Office in the White House, and he was in front of his desk in the Oval Office, and he got up out of his chair, and then all of a sudden I saw him clutching his chest. I didn't see anything more, but I did see him clutching his chest. So whether that may mean a heart attack or some kind of heart condition that possibly he may have, I do not know, but I just leave that again with you. But I saw him clutching his chest as if he was having chest pains or a heart attack or a stroke or something like that, something to do with his chest. He just clutched it was his chest, not his stomach or anything like that. It was high up, it was his chest, and he was just going like this in pain. Okay, so I just leave that with you. What else about Joe Biden? Joseph Robinette Biden. Okay, here we have the significance of the number 11 coming through. The significance of the number 11. Biden was born on the 20th day of the 11th month, 1942. So the 11th month. In the Hebrew calendar is Kislev, and in the Hebrew calendar he was born in the year 5730 5,703, on the 11th day of Kislev. So we have the number 11 twice. In the Roman calendar, we have the 11th month, and in the Hebrew calendar, we have the 11th day. So what does this signify? Well, 10 is the number of law and order, and we have the letter Yod with the number 10, divine order, work of God, etc. Okay, but 11, what does 11 symbolize? What is 11? When you think of the number 11, what do you think of? The 11 disciples? Not 100% complete without the 12. Okay, we have the Hebrew letter Kaf is the 11th letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And the letter Kaf is the number 20. So again, we're conjoining the 20th day of the 11th with the 11th of Kislev. Okay, so we've got Kaf, the hand Kaf, the 11th letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Kaf. And we have the hand Kaf. Now, Kaf symbolizes the power or the authority to lift up or to suppress. To lift up or to suppress. Okay, and we talk about, we have the 11th horn of Daniel. Who is the 11th horn of Daniel? That's the Antichrist. Now, I'm not saying that Biden is the Antichrist. So please don't try to misinterpret what I'm saying here. I'm just simply saying that the 11th horn of Daniel, chapter 7, and seeks to change the times and the laws. Maybe the Constitution? I'll leave that with you. Speaks of rebellion. 11, the number 11, speaks of rebellion. We have Genesis chapter 11, the Tower of Babel. Yes? Okay, and the last king of Judah, Zedekiah, ruled and reigned for 11 years before the Babylonians came in. Okay, September the 11th. Whoa, what happened on September 11th? Yes, 9/11. Remember 9/11? That awful day when the Twin Towers, what number does that make? Number 11. Yes, the two towers make number 11. And interestingly enough, the towers had 110 stairs. So again, we have 110, so the number 11. It was American Airlines. The first plane to hit the towers was American Airlines flight number 11 with 11 crew. On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, World War I was finished. Okay. At the end of the month of Kislev, remember he was born on the 11th of Kislev. At the end of the month of Kislev, though, we do have hope. Because on the 25th day of Kislev of that particular month, we begin to celebrate Hanukkah. And we start to light our candles. So we light the first candle on the 25th, and it goes for 8 days. And we celebrate when the temple was cleansed after the Maccabeite revolt. The temple was cleansed. And so we celebrate Hanukkah. It's also called the second Sukkot, the second Feast of Tabernacles. Glory to God. So there is light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. There's light at the end of the month of Kislev. So darkness leaves, slowly by slowly. We also have the Messiah, Yeshua, Jesus. Okay, 3 times 11, 3 times the number 11, brings him to the age of 33, when of course Yeshua, Jesus, was crucified at the age of 33 and a half years. And that ended the rebellion of sin. Okay. So that's the end of part 1. That's all we have time for, unfortunately, today. There's a lot to take in there. But as it's a video, you can play it back again. Okay. I do have a new book coming out. You'll be pleased to know. Some of you will be very pleased to know. And this book is going to be called God's Blueprint. God's Blueprint. What is God's Blueprint? God's blueprint basically is his master plan for the redemption of mankind. and it's a prophetic book, just like my other book was, The End, Prophetic Insights into the Last Days, much of which I wrote that back in, oh gosh, a long time ago now, 2010, 2011. Okay, and a lot of the prophecies that I prophesied in that particular book have already come true, and have already happened and taken place. And the Lord's laid it on my heart to do this book, and it's a book which does examine the Hebrew feast, but the Hebrew feast in terms of prophecy. And I look at what's happening today and what the Lord has shown me is going to be happening in the future, looking at the scriptures through Hebrew eyes, looking at specific words in the Hebrew and Hebrew numerology using Gemmatria, okay, which is the study of the Hebrew language and numbers and the significance. Okay, and as a last note, be very, very careful if you're expecting a baby. Be very, very careful how you name your baby, because names do have significance and they can prophesy how someone's life is going to turn out. So be careful with names, because otherwise you could end up prophesying over your baby something that is not going to be very good. So do take care in your baby naming. Okay, so that's all we have time for today. So my book, God's Blueprint, okay, will be available shortly. I'm hoping to get it finished within about the next week, but you can email me at riveroflifeuk@hotmail.com. That's riveroflifeuk@hotmail.com. You can send me an email and you can request your free copy. I'm not going to charge for it. Yes, it's going to be completely 100% free. But you're welcome if you want to make a donation to our ministry, River of Life International. You're more than welcome to go to our website. We have a website, riveroflifeministriesinternational.org, and you can make a donation there if you want to, or you can PayPal us at riveroflifeuk@hotmail.com, because we do have schools and orphanages in many different nations of the world that we support, and other evangelistic work. We support a lot of evangelistic work in Africa, especially at the moment. So if you would like to make a donation, you're more than welcome to do so, but it's not necessary. You don't have to. I only want you to make a donation if you are led of the Lord to do so. And 100% of it will go towards helping out with this particular part of the Lord's ministry, River of Life International. And so that's you can find more information on riveroflifeministriesinternational.org, and I'll put the details underneath the video. And in the meantime, send me an email and request your free copy of my next book that's coming out, okay, which I can then once I have your email address, I can then download it to you free of charge as a PDF. It will come through as a PDF file. So that's it. So keep praying, keep standing in faith, keep doing what Jesus has told us to do, and that is to be a light and witness in this world, which day by day sadly is growing darker and darker. But don't give up hope, because the church, we are called to be God's beacon and God's light, and the light dispels the darkness. So continue to be God's light, salt and light in this world. Well, that's all for me. God bless. Bye-bye.